On the neutral orbital station called Harmony Vale, the first official meeting between the Galactic Concord and the newly contacted humans took place. Lyra Veth, a delicate crystalline-skinned empath from the Valori Collective, served as the chief diplomatic reader for this important event. Her species could brush surface thoughts during physical contact, a gentle and consensual protocol used for centuries to ensure honest negotiation among different races. The station floated in quiet space, far from any war zone. Its wide halls glowed with soft blue light, and the air smelled faintly of clean recycled oxygen. Delegates from many worlds gathered in the round meeting chamber. Their forms varied from tall feathered beings to short-scaled ones, and everything in between. The human delegation arrived last, small and unassuming. Only 5 people, in plain gray uniforms, with no bright colors or fancy decorations. Their lead representative was Captain Elias Kane, scarred, quiet, middle-aged man with short gray hair and steady dark eyes. He carried himself with calm confidence, but nothing about him screamed danger at first glance. Lyra Veth stood near the central table, her tall, slender body shimmering like clear quartz under the lights. Her many small crystal facets caught every glow and reflected it in tiny rainbows across the floor. She felt nervous today more than usual, because these humans were new, unknown, and the Concord elders had warned everyone to proceed with extra care. Reports said humans came from a single blue world full of water and storms, a place that seemed too small to produce such fast-expanding ships. Yet their vessels had crossed into Concord space without asking permission, and then politely asked to talk. That mix of boldness and courtesy confused everyone. Lyra Veth had practiced her greeting many times in the mirror, touching her own hand to feel the right amount of gentle. Probe, and she must skim only intent and sincerity. Nothing deeper, that was the strict rule. The other delegates finished their short speeches, full of flowery words about peace and shared stars. Then it was the humans' turn. Captain Elias Kane stepped forward, his boots making soft clicks on the polished floor. He looked around the chamber, meeting each pair of eyes without fear or arrogance. "We come in peace," he said, his voice low and clear. "We want to learn about you and share what we know." Simple words, no long promises, no grand threats, just direct speech. The room stayed quiet, waiting. Lyra Veth moved closer as protocol demanded. She would be the first to offer the formal touch of trust. She extended her slender hand, palm up, the crystals along her fingers glowing faintly with warm golden light. Captain Kane looked at her hand for 1 second, then raised his own. His palm was rough, marked with old scars, thin white lines that told stories of hard work and harder fights. He placed his hand in hers, firm but not crushing. The contact lasted 1 heartbeat too long. Lyra Veth had meant to skim lightly, just enough to feel honesty and goodwill. But her own anxiety spiked at that moment, fear that these blunt, loud newcomers might upset the careful balance of the Concord. That tiny slip of emotion pushed her probe deeper than intended. Instead of skimming, she plunged. A rush of raw, unfiltered mind hit her like a wave crashing over sharp rocks. She gasped, but no sound came out. Her mandibles locked tight. The chamber blurred around her. The soft lights, the watching delegates, the hum of the station, they all faded. Inside Elias Kane, there was no neat, orderly lattice of thought, like every other species she had touched before. There was a howling storm, endless and wild. Thoughts crashed into each other, overlapped, screamed, sang, whispered, all at once. Smell of rain on a childhood street he would never see again. Wet pavement and distant thunder. At the same time, he calculated orbital mechanics for the station's defense grid, just in case something went wrong here today. An old human song lyric looped in the background. I get knocked down, but I get up again, stubborn and loud. He visualized 17 different ways the current conversation could turn violent, and 14 ways to stop it before blood spilled. A sharp pang of loneliness stabbed through, because the coffee on the station tasted terrible, burnt and weak. Deeper still, she saw the final moments of his wife's death in a distant war, replayed, not with fresh grief, but with cold, tactical clarity. Next time we won't lose the relay station. And beneath every layer burned a furnace, not rage, not fear, but something hotter and stranger. Stubborn, laughing defiance. A core certainty that no matter how dark, how impossible, humans would find a way to keep going. Make it worse for whatever tried to stop them, and then crack a joke about it afterward. Lyra Veth felt her crystalline body tremble, the facets along her arms cracking with tiny sharp sounds. She had touched angry minds before, breathing minds, cold minds, but never one that refused to be orderly. It was like trying to read a library while it was on fire, and the books were screaming back at her. She tried to pull away, but the storm held her for another second, flooding her with more fragments. A child laughing in a park long gone. The taste of salt from tears never shed in public. The weight of a rifle in hands that once held flowers. A promise to a dying friend. I'll finish what we started. All of it mixed together. Chaotic, beautiful, terrible, alive. Finally, with a great effort, she broke the contact. Her hand jerked back as if burned. She staggered 2 steps, her legs unsteady. Medical drones buzzed forward from the walls, round machines with soft white lights. She waved them away, mandibles clicking fast in distress. The chamber had gone completely silent, every delegate staring at her. Captain Elias Kane stepped closer, concern clear on his face. "You all right, ma'am?" he asked, voice low and steady. Lyra Veth stared at him, eyes wide, glowing bright with overload. She could not speak, yet the storm still echoed inside her head. For the first time in her long life, she felt small, fragile, breakable. This human carried an entire universe of contradiction inside one skull, and he stood there, calm, offering help. She nodded once, slow, unable to find words. The meeting continued after a short pause, but the air felt different, heavier. Delegates spoke carefully, watching both Lyra Veth and the humans. Lyra Veth stayed near the edge of the table, trying to calm her racing thoughts. She kept glancing at Captain Kane. He sat quietly, listening, nodding, kneaded, sipping from a small cup of that terrible coffee. His face showed nothing of the storm she had glimpsed. How does he do it, she wondered. How does he carry all that and still breathe, still speak, still smile when someone makes a small joke? The answer started to form in her mind, slow and frightening. He did not just carry it, he fed on it. Every pain, every loss, every moment of despair became fuel for the next step. Humans were not broken by their history, they were shaped by it, sharpened by it, and that made them dangerous in ways no one in the Concord had imagined yet. Lyra Veth felt a chill spread through her crystals. She had come here to read sincerity. Instead, she had read something much deeper, something the galaxy was not ready for. The furnace inside this quiet man, and maybe inside every human, burned on and on. It would not go out. Not today, not ever. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the page emerge. Soft hum of the station fill her ears. When she opened them again, Captain Elias Kane was looking at her. Not with suspicion, not with pity, just with quiet patience, waiting for whatever came next. And in that moment, Lyra Veth understood the first real truth about humans. They were never truly surprised by anything, because they had already imagined it all inside their endless storm. Lyra Veth staggered back from the handshake, her crystalline legs shaking under her. The meeting chamber seemed to tilt and spin, the soft blue lights blurring into streaks. She caught herself against the edge of the central table. her sharp fingertips scraping the smooth metal with a high, thin sound. Medical drones rushed in fast, small white orbs humming with concern, their lights flashing gentle warnings. One extended a soft probe toward her arm, but she waved it away hard, her mandibles clicking in sharp distress. "No," she managed to say, her voice thin and trembling. "Leave me." The drones hovered uncertain, then retreated to the walls, still watching. Every delegate in the room stared wide-eyed, feathers ruffled, scales raised, antennae twitching. Captain Elias Kane stepped forward, one hand half raised, palm out, showing he meant no harm. His face showed real worry, lines deep around his eyes. "You all right, ma'am?" he asked again, voice low, steady, like before. Lyra Veth could not answer right away. The storm still roared inside her head, echoing, bouncing, refusing to fade. She pressed both hands to her temples, crystals grinding together, with tiny cracks spreading like frost on glass. The plunge had been brief, only seconds, but it felt like hours, drowning in chaos. She had expected a calm surface mind, like the Valori, or a structured one, like the insectoid Krell, or even a cold, calculated one, like the reptilian Zoreth. What she found in Elias Kane defied every pattern she knew. There was no beginning, no end, no tidy compartments. Thoughts slammed into each other, overlapped, fought, merged, split, reformed, all at the same instant. He pictured rain on Earth, wet streets, shining under streetlights, a memory so vivid she could almost smell the damp concrete. At the exact same moment, numbers scrolled through his head, precise calculations for the orbital path of Harmony Vale, if shields failed and weapons needed firing. A song played in loops, stubborn words about falling down and getting up again, the rhythm pounding like a heartbeat. He imagined the conversation turning bad, 17 violent paths clear as maps, 14 peaceful ones marked in green. A small, sharp ache hit, for bad coffee, weak burnt lonely in this alien place. Deeper flashes came unbidden, his wife dying on a battlefield, relay station exploding around her, her last words cut short by static. He did not weep in memory, he analyzed. Next time we hold the line better, we reinforce here, we don't lose another one, all of it wrapped in fire. Not hot anger, not cold hate, but laughing stubborn fire that said, "Bring it on, see what happens." Lyra Veth felt her own mind buckling under the weight. How could one skull hold so much without breaking? Other species thought in lines, neat threads she could follow. Humans thought in storms, hurricanes of color, sound, pain, joy, rage, hope, spinning, forever. She tried to sort it, pull one thread loose, but every thread connected to 10 more, exploding outward. A laugh from a child long dead, mixed with the smell of gunpowder from a war 20 years gone. A recipe for soup his mother taught him, tangled with equations for faster-than-light jumps. Guilt for friends left behind, twisted into plans for better armor, better ships, better everything. And always that furnace underneath, feeding on contradiction, turning loss into fuel, turning fear into jokes, turning impossible into maybe tomorrow. She had read angry minds before they burned bright, then faded. This mind burned steady, endless, refusing to dim. It was not madness, it was adaptation, pure raw survival, carved into every neuron. Lyra Veth sank to her knees, crystals clinking softly against the floor. Her glow dimmed from golden to pale blue, the light inside her flickering like a candle in wind. Delegates murmured now, soft voices rising. In worry and confusion, a tall feathered ambassador from the Aviara stepped closer, wings half spread. "What did you see?" they asked, voice sharp with concern. Lyra Veth shook her head, slow mandibles trembling. "I saw too much," she whispered. "I saw everything, and nothing makes sense." Captain Kane knelt in front of her, keeping distance respectful. He did not touch her again. "Take your time," he said. "We can pause the talks, No rush. His voice stayed calm, kind, almost gentle. That gentleness shocked her more than the storm. How could he offer comfort after she had ripped open his mind without permission? How could he sit there quiet while his inner world screamed? She looked up, meeting his dark eyes. They held no anger, no fear, only patient waiting. "You carry all that," she said, voice cracking, "every day, every moment, and you still function." Elias shrugged one shoulder, small movement. "As well, keep moving forward." Simple words, but they landed heavy. Lyra Veth felt cracks spread further along her arms, thin lines like shattered ice. She had never felt fragile before, not like this. Veilori minds were clear, calm mirrors, reflecting only what needed reflection. This human mind was a bonfire, throwing sparks in every direction, some beautiful, some terrible, all dangerous. She understood now why the first scout reports called humans unpredictable. They were not unpredictable, they were uncontainable. Their thoughts did not follow rules, because rules broke long ago on their harsh homeworld. Storms, volcanoes, predators, famine, war, disease, betrayal, hope, love. Every hardship hammered them into something new, something that laughed at the hammer. Lyra Veth tried to stand, legs unsteady. She gripped the table edge hard. The meeting must continue. Protocol demanded it. But her mind still echoed with fragments of a soldier's last breath on a frozen moon, a wedding dance under double suns that no longer existed, a dog running across grass, chasing a ball, joy pure and simple, all fuel for the same fire. She straightened slow, forcing her glow back to steady gold. "I am recovered," she lied, voice stronger. "Now we may proceed." Delegates relaxed a little, chairs creaking as they sat again. Captain Kane rose smooth, offered her a small nod, then returned to his place. He picked up his cup, sipped the terrible coffee, made a slight face. Then he listened as the next speaker began formal greetings. Lyra Veth watched him from the side, eyes narrow. The storm still whispered in her head, quieter now, but alive. She knew she would never forget it. No Veilori ever would if she told them, and she would have to tell them soon. Because this was no ordinary first contact. This was the moment the galaxy met something it had never seen before. A species that turned every wound into weapon, every tear into steel, every laugh into defiance. And they carried it all lightly, smiling politely, offering handshakes, while inside the furnace roared on, hungry, endless, ready. Lyra Veth felt a cold certainty settle in her core. If the Concord ever pushed these humans too far, if peace ever failed, the storm would come out, and nothing in the stars would be the same again. She took a slow breath, crystals settling with faint clicks. The talks went on, words about trade, borders, technology, but she heard something else underneath. The quiet crackle of fire, waiting, patient, smiling back at the galaxy. And for the first time, she feared what might happen if that fire ever decided to burn bright. Lyra Veth knew she should stop the link right then. Protocol screamed at her to pull back, report the breach, and let the elders decide what came next. But something stronger than duty held her in place. Curiosity mixed with growing dread, like cold water pouring down her spine. She let the connection linger 3 more dangerous seconds. The storm grew louder, wilder, pulling her deeper into places no empath should ever go. Deeper she found the memories humans tried to bury, the ones they locked away behind walls of duty and dark humor. Elias Kane had once knelt in red mud on a burning colony world, holding a small child, no more than 6 years old. The child's lungs filled with smoke, eyes wide with terror, small hands clutching his uniform. He whispered lies about rescue ships coming soon, about safe places just over the next hill. No ships ever came. The colony fell silent under enemy fire. Elias carried that child out anyway, through flames, and, to be continued, collapsing buildings, only to lay the tiny body down when the fight ended. He stared at the still face for long minutes, guilt carving deep lines into his soul. 20 years later, the guilt still woke him at night, sharp as a knife. Yet he rose every morning, put on the uniform, and went back to work. He never spoke of it, not to friends, not to therapists, not even to himself in quiet moments. But the memory lived on, feeding the furnace, turning pain into purpose, never letting him rest easy. Lyra Veth recoiled, but the link pulled her further. She saw entire histories of human suffering, laid bare like open books, written in blood and ash. Cities starved in long sieges, people eating leather boots and wallpaper paste to stay alive. Frozen camps where prisoners dug graves for friends, then for themselves. Gas chambers, silent screams behind sealed doors, bombs that turned daylight to night, fire raining from the sky, radiation that ate bodies from the inside, slow and cruel. And after every horror, humans did not curl up and fade. They built monuments, tall stone markers to remember the lost. They carved names into walls, endless rows stretching far as eyes could see. Then they turned around and invented newer, sharper weapons, deadlier ships, stronger armor. All so it would never happen to them again. They studied the pain, learned from it, sharpened themselves on it. Lyra Veth felt sick, her crystals vibrating with strain. No other species did this. They mourned, they healed, they moved toward harmony. Humans romanticized their own suffering. They made songs about trenches and lost loves. They wrote poems on prison walls, scratched with broken glass. They filmed their nightmares, turned horror into stories people paid to watch. They built religions around sacrifice, around rising after falling. Every wound became a story, every scar a badge. They turned despair into a memory. Meaning then turned the meaning into steel. Worst of all, they laughed about it. Dark, bitter jokes, told in quiet bars, over cheap drinks. Jokes about the end of the world, about friends blown apart, about worlds burning. Laughter that said, we survived this too. What's next? Lyra Veth felt a thin, sharp crack run down her chest plate, right over her heart center. The psychic strain built too fast, too heavy. Her glow flickered wild, gold to blue to dim gray. She could not breathe right, mandibles trembling open and shut. The link finally snapped when her own mind screamed enough. She collapsed forward, hands slapping the floor, crystals shattering in small bursts like breaking glass. Pain lanced through her body, real physical pain from overload. Delegates gasped, chairs scraping back, voices rising in alarm. Medical drones swarmed again. This time, she could not wave them off. They pressed soft pads to her arms, injected calmatives. Lights, pulsing, slow and steady. Captain Elias Kane moved fast, knelt beside her without touching. "Stay with us," he said, firm voice cutting through the noise. "Breathe slow, in and out." She tried following his words, air rasping in her throat. The calmatives spread warm, dulling the sharp edges. The storm in her head quieted to echoes, still there but distant. She looked up at him through blurry vision. His face stayed calm, concerned, no trace of the horrors she had seen. "How?" she whispered. "How do you live with it all?" He met her gaze, steady. "One day at a time," he answered, "same as everyone else." Simple words again, landing like stones. Lyra Veth felt tears gather, strange clear fluid welling in her eye facets. Valeri did not cry often. Their bodies held emotion inside, like light in crystal. But now the dam broke, small drops sliding down her face, sparkling as they fell. "You make it beautiful," she said, voice breaking. "You take the worst things and make songs, make meaning, make jokes." Elias looked away for a second, jaw tight. "We have to," he said quiet. "If we don't, the dark wins." That sentence hit her hardest. Humans did not deny the dark. They faced it, named it, fought it, then used it. They kept the fire burning by throwing every scrap of pain into the flames, and the fire grew stronger. Lyra Veth understood then why scouts called humans resilient. Resilient was too small a word. They were forged in constant emergency, minds built for chaos, bodies that refused to quit. Every human carried this inside, not just Elias, but all of them. A furnace fed by history, by loss, by hope, by sheer bloody stubbornness. She wiped the tears away, hand shaking. The comative helped her stand, slow, unsteady. Delegates watched, silent now, no one spoke. The air felt thick, heavy with unspoken questions. Lyra Veth straightened her cracked crystals, catching light in jagged patterns. "I need time," she said to the elders. Voice stronger, "We must pause." No one argued. Captain Kane stepped back, giving her space. He nodded once, small gesture, full of understanding. "Take what you need," he said. "We aren't going anywhere." Lyra Veth walked from the chamber, slow, each step careful. Behind her the meeting broke up, quiet murmurs following. She found a quiet corridor, away from lights, away from eyes. Leaned against the wall, let her head fall back. The echoes still played soft now, like distant thunder. Child in the mud, songs in the dark, monuments rising from ruins, laughter over graves, and always the fire crackling, hungry, patient, endless. She closed her eyes, let the station hum fill her ears. For the first time she feared humans, not for what they might do, but for what they already were. A species that turned every nightmare into fuel. Break. That kept smiling, because breaking was not an option. And if the galaxy ever forced them to choose, they would choose to burn bright, before they let the fire die. Lyra Veth opened her eyes, stared at the stars through the viewport. They looked cold, distant, safe, but she knew better now. The real danger floated below in the meeting chamber. Quiet, scarred, polite, carrying a storm no one could calm, and feeding it every single day. She pushed off the wall, walked toward the elders' quarters. The report would be hard to give, but it had to be said, before anyone made a mistake, before anyone pushed too far, because the furnace never slept, and it was always ready to roar. Lyra Veth finally broke free from the link, her mind snapping back like a stretched cord released. She collapsed to her knees again, crystals grinding hard against the floor, small shards falling like clear rain. The comative still flowed in her veins, dulling the worst pain, but not the shock. She stared up at Captain Elias Kane, who knelt close without crowding her. His face stayed open, concerned, no hint of the storm she had seen raging inside him. "You carry all of that," she said, voice hoarse and low, "every single day, and you still smile, you still offer your hand." Elias looked at her for a long moment, then gave a small shrug, one corner of his mouth lifting just a little. "We don't get a choice," he said, quiet. "Might as well make the coffee bad and the company good." Simple words again, but they carried weight, like stones dropped in still water. Lyra Veth felt something shift inside her, a crack, not just in her body, but in her understanding, had touched many minds over long years. Velori minds, clear and bright like polished gems. Aviara minds, light and quick, like wind through feathers. Krell minds, ordered and sharp like hive patterns. Zorath minds, cold and precise, like ice under starlight. All of them sought harmony, balance, quiet consensus after conflict. Humans had evolved differently, in constant emergency, on a world that never gave mercy. Storms that drowned cities, beasts that hunted in packs, seasons that froze or burned without warning. Predators, wars, famine, disease, betrayal, hope, love, loss, all crashing together without end. Their minds learned to hold contradiction, to juggle fire and ice, to laugh while bleeding. They fed the furnace on purpose, threw pain in as fuel, turned despair into drive. That was the true shock. Humans were not insane. They were perfectly built for insanity. The galaxy feared chaos, but humans thrived in it. They made homes in the wreckage, sang songs in the ruins, cracked jokes over graves. Lyraveth saw it clear now. Every human carried this inner pyre. Hope tangled with hate, love knotted with vengeance, absurdity wrapped around grim purpose. And they kept it burning bright, because letting it die meant letting everything die. She rose slow, legs still shaky but steadier than before. Captain Kane stood with her, offered a steady hand, not to touch, but to show support. She did not take it. Instead, she met his eyes straight. "You are not weak," she said. "You are terrifying." He blinked once, surprised, then gave a soft laugh, short and real. "Terrifying," he repeated. "Maybe, but we try not to be." That laugh echoed in her head, soft but alive like the fire itself. Lyraveth turned away, walked to the viewport. Stars, cold and distant outside. She pressed one cracked palm to the cool glass, felt the faint vibration of the station. The galaxy stretched wide, peaceful, orderly, full of careful treaties and slow agreements. Then there were humans, fast, loud, stubborn, polite, and deadly. They came in peace, but carried war inside every cell. They offered friendship, but held weapons ready in case friendship failed. They smiled, because smiling cost nothing, and kept the fire fed. Lyraveth understood the Elder's warnings now, not about human ships or weapons, about the minds behind them, minds that refused to break, minds that turned every no into maybe, minds that saw the end and said not today. She turned back to the chamber delegates, still gathered, quiet, waiting for her to speak. Captain Kane sat again sipping that terrible coffee, face calm as if nothing had happened. But she knew better now. She had seen the truth. The meeting resumed, slow, careful words about borders, trade, shared knowledge. Lyraveth listened half there, her mind still full of echoes. A mother singing to a sick child in a bomb shelter, a soldier sharing his last ration with an enemy prisoner. A scientist working through nights to cure a plague that killed millions. A child planting a tree over a fresh grave, promising it would grow tall. All of it, fuel, more sparks for the endless fire. She felt awe now mixed with fear. Awe for the strength that kept going. Fear for what happened when that strength turned outward. The talks ended for the day, delegates rising, murmuring goodbyes. Captain Elias Kane approached her one last time. He extended his hand again, palm up. No pressure, just offer. "Thank you for today," he said. "We learned a lot." Lyraveth stared at the hand, scarred, rough, steady. She took it careful this time, no probe, no slip, just contact. Warm human skin against cool crystal. She felt nothing psychic this time, only the simple truth of touch. "You are welcome," she answered, voice soft. "We learned more than we expected." He nodded, squeezed once, gentle, then let go. "See you tomorrow," he said, then walked away, boots quiet on the floor. Lyraveth watched him leave, shoulders straight, steps even. The furnace inside him crackled on, patient, waiting. She stayed by the viewport, long after the chamber emptied. Stars turned slow overhead, silent witnesses. She thought about the report she must give soon, hard words for the elders. "Do not push them," she would say. "Do not test them too hard. Because if peace ever broke, if survival demanded a choice, humans would choose fire. They would burn bright and wide before they let the flame go out. And they would laugh while the stars watched. Because that was what they did. They laughed, they fought, they kept going." Lyraveth touched the crack over her heart. Center felt the faint warmth still there. The galaxy had met something new. Something old as pain, new as hope, something that carried its own light in the dark. And that light never dimmed. She turned from the stars, walked toward the elders' quarters. Steps slow but sure. The report waited. The truth waited. And somewhere in the station, Captain Elias Kane probably drank more bad coffee, thought about tomorrow, and fed the fire one more quiet day at a time. Lyra Veth smiled small sad smile. For the first time, she envied that fire, because it never asked permission. It simply burned, and the galaxy would have to learn to live with the heat. Later in the quiet hours after the meeting, Lyra Veth stood before the closed council chamber of the Galactic Concord Elders. The room felt colder than usual. Heavy air, thick with the scent of old stone, and faint incense from distant worlds. 7 elders sat in a half-circle, their forms hidden in deep shadows, only eyes glowing softly in different colors. Lyra Veth stepped forward, her cracked crystals catching the dim light in broken sparkles. She bowed low, mandibles folded tight in respect. The elders waited, silent, patient. She began to speak, voice steady now, though still soft from the strain. "I have read the human mind," she said, "not by choice, but by accident in the handshake. What I found shocked me beyond words." One elder, the ancient Zorath with scales like polished obsidian, leaned forward slightly. "Speak clearly, child. What did you see in this Captain Elias Kane?" Lyra Veth took a slow breath, letting the memory flood back. Controlled this time. "I saw no neat order, no calm surface, no hidden fear waiting to break. I saw a storm, endless howling, full of contradictions that should destroy any mind. Memories of joy tangled with grief, calculations of peace mixed with plans for war. Songs of hope looping through screams of loss. A child dead in his arms, replayed not with tears, but with cold lessons learned. Guilt carried for decades, yet used as fuel to keep going. I saw histories of starvation, torture, fire, and silence. Humans built monuments to the dead, then built better weapons to prevent it happening again. They wrote poems in blood, turned horror into art, made laughter from pain. They romanticized suffering, fed on it, grew stronger from every wound." The elder with feathers soft silver whispered, "Impossible. No mind can hold such chaos without shattering." Lyra Veth shook her head slow. "Their minds do not shatter. They adapt. They thrive in chaos. They evolved on a world of constant danger. Storms, predators, wars, disease, betrayal. Every hardship hammered them into something unbreakable. Inside each human burns a pyre, fed by hope, hate, love, vengeance, absurdity, grim purpose. They keep it burning on purpose, because the fire is what keeps them alive." A low murmur rose among the elders, wings rustling, scales shifting. The lead elder, an old Valori, like her, but ancient facets clouded with age, spoke next. "Do they hide this fire behind smiles and handshakes?" "Yes," Lyra Veth answered. "They offer courtesy, politeness, jokes, terrible coffee. But beneath it all, the furnace roars, patient, hungry, ready. If we mistake their kindness for weakness, we make a grave error. If we ever force them to choose between peace and survival, they will burn the galaxy before they let the fire die, and they will laugh while doing it, because that is what they do. They laugh. Fight. They endure." Silence fell thick and heavy. One elder, the small insectoid Krell, clicked mandibles, thoughtful. "Then we must treat them with great care, never push, never threaten." Another, the tall feathered one, spread wings halfway, or ally with them carefully, learn from them perhaps. Lyra Veth nodded once. But always remember they are not like us. We seek harmony, they seek survival, and they have survived things that would break worlds. The elders rose as one, signaling the end of the session. We will discuss this further, the lead elder said. Your report is heard and heeded. Go rest, healer. Your crystals need mending. Lyraveth bowed again, deeper this time. She left the chamber, walked the long corridors alone. Her steps echoed soft in the empty halls. Outside, through wide viewports, stars wheeled slow and cold. She stopped at one window, pressed her cracked palm to the glass again. On the station, Captain Elias Kane probably sat in his quarters, maybe reading reports, maybe staring at the same stars, maybe sipping more bad coffee, thinking quiet thoughts about tomorrow, while inside the furnace crackled steady, never sleeping. She smiled, small, tired smile. The galaxy had changed today without most knowing it. A new species walked among them, polite, scarred, unassuming, carrying fire no one else could match. Lyraveth turned from the window, headed toward medical bays. Her body needed repair, her mind needed time. But the truth stayed with her, sharp and bright. Humans were here now, part of the stars, and the stars would never be quite the same again. Because somewhere in the quiet, a human mind burned on, laughing at the dark, defying the impossible, keeping the fire alive, one stubborn day at a time. And if the galaxy listened close enough, it might hear the faint crackle, the soft roar, the endless promise that said, we are still here, and we are not done yet. Lyraveth reached the medical wing. Soft lights welcomed her. Drones hummed forward, gentle probes ready. She sat, let them work, closed her eyes, let the hum of the station fill her. Somewhere far off, Elias Kane finished his day, set down his cup, looked out at the stars, thought about nothing in particular, except that tomorrow might be interesting, and the furnace inside him smiled back, crackling on, patient, ready, alive.